and welcome back to Four Corners of the Galley. I'm your host, P-Bo, and you're joining me on another edition of our movie reviews. I just recently saw Ocean's 8 at the theaters. Yes, I know I'm a little late, but it makes no difference because a lot of people didn't see this movie, and I'm here to give you my spoiler review on the topic anyways. So come along and join me on this spoiler review of Ocean's 8. Alright, so Ocean's 8. After the success of Oceans 11, 12, and 13, the trilogy created by Steven Soderbergh and Warner Brothers, distributed and made it, Warner Brothers decided to go back to the well, and this time they decided to do kind of a spin-off, and they wanted to do a lady-centric one, and this time they did it, and it's called Ocean's 8. So, the one bad thing about this is it's not directed or even written by Mr. Steven Soderbergh. He is the producer on this movie, but this movie was written and directed by Mr. Gary Ross. Gary Ross is very famously his most commercially successful movie to this date, and one that I probably love the most would be Hunger Games. I really did enjoy that. For me, the overall this movie, I feel like this is the movie of missed opportunities and really missed just potential. I love the cast. I thought the amazing women and ladies they put in this movie are absolutely fabulous. Each one of them in their own different movies and roles are great. I don't know if putting them all together really helped out. The one thing I can admit about Ocean's 11, that's the first time I've seen such a assembly of cast of characters play so well off each other. It's like they all were friends before, and you really don't see that in a lot of good movies because usually when they get such a freaking high-powered crew together, the movie never comes out as good as it should be because it's like they have too many A-list or big guys trying to take over the movie, and this one doesn't feel like there's too many people taking on the movie. It more feels like more people are just kind of sitting back and letting Sandra Bullock and Cate Blanchett take over the movie instead of really inserting themselves in places where I feel like they should insert themselves. So that's just kind of like my overall feeling on the thing. Now let's get a little deeper into this movie. So it starts off just like Ocean's 11, and we actually get to meet Sandra Bullock's character, Debbie Ocean. And Debbie Ocean is actually the sister of Danny Ocean, who's played by George Clooney, who's the main star of Ocean's 11, 12, and 13. She's doing the exact same thing Danny's doing. She's conning her way with the parole board, and she figures out a way to get herself released early. So, she gets released early. She has this great moment where she, right before she gets released, she meets up with the officer, I guess one of the correction officer, and she's like, wow, you pulled him with that? She's like, yeah. She even tells her, like, don't worry, you take a little extra on your cut this week. So she's still running a hustle. She then gets out, and the first thing she does is you get to see how great of a con artist she is. So she goes into, it looks like Macy's, but it's definitely a department store, and we're in New York, and she just completely walks out with just full bags full of stuff. She does this great thing at the makeup counter to end up with makeup and perfume that she wants. And then she goes to a hotel and watches a couple leave and pulls a great scam and ends up in a hotel room. So it has a great opening where it's showing Sandra Bullock, Debbie Ocean, just like Mr. Danny Ocean from Ocean's 11. And then it cuts to where she now shows up at the cemetery. And she's at the cemetery, and it's the cemetery for Danny Ocean. And then you're like, wow, okay, so basically this is all after the events of Oceans 11, 12, and 13, and I guess Danny has passed. And she's kind of having a moment with them and, like, kind of jokingly, like, you better be dead, like, don't be playing around, this better not be, like, some trick of yours. And pops out of nowhere is Ruben. So they bring Ruben to the movie, and he's just kind of like, she's like, Ruben, stop, creeping around the corner. He's like, I'm just here to pay my respects. And Ruben's basically there trying to convince her to not go through with this job that she had been planning this whole time she was away. So just like Danny, she's been planning this job while she's been locked up. And he's like, look, Danny just said it would be a great job and it would be a great thing, but you shouldn't do this. And she's like, thanks, Ruben, but I'm good. So then, just like in Ocean's 11, she goes and meets up with her number 2, who is actually played by Cate Blanchett. And as much as I love Cate Blanchett, and she's great, and I loved all her crazy costumes, I don't know if the character they gave her was the one. She seemed like a Russian, or I don't know if she was Russian. I mean, maybe Eastern European, who was scamming things and pouring water into vodka bottles, and I guess running a club, it seemed like she was doing. So she was a little all over the place, and I couldn't really get a feel for what character she was giving till later down the line. But they come together, and just like in the other one, You got Debbie here trying to convince Cate Blanchett's character to come along with her for this great adventure that she's been planning for the last 5 years in prison. And she's like, well, what is this? She's like, it's a heist. Oh, yeah, what are we heisting? She goes, the Met. We're stealing art? No. We're going to steal something off of somebody at the Met. And they're like, oh, okay, so what are we going to steal? So she has this elaborate plan to get this ridiculous Cartier necklace that is valued at $150 million, and they plan on stealing it off of one of the luxurious actresses that will be wearing it at the Met Gala. So she's created this great plan, and she goes, well, what are you going to need? Like 12 people. She's like, nah, we're just going to need 7. So this is how they started to put together a crew. And just like in Ocean's 11, where they do this great montage of putting together the crew, they do the same thing. I did like the montage. It was a little kind of funky, where they kind of pull in the same antics that they do in 11, where they're looking for the same kind of characters, like a pickpocket, a fence, basically some muscle. They went and get a jeweler person that's not really making their money, so they can, have a jeweler. Their big catch is to get the character played by Miss Helen Beneath Carter, who's actually, her name is Rose Wee, and she's actually a designer. And the whole key is, they want to use this well-established designer who's actually fallen on hard times and is really bad at designing now and doesn't have her mojo anymore, and she owes the IRS $5 million. So she's in the red and she's going to need money and need to help. They want to convince her to make her a top-notch designer for this made-up actress character that they've created in the name of Daphne Kugler, who is played by Miss Anne Hathaway. So they figure out a way to convince, to get so that Rose and Daphne have a meeting together, and Daphne ends up picking Rose as her designer. Sets to play the whole thing in plan. Now, I must admit, probably the best character I think out of this whole movie was Anne Hathaway. She played the overstuck-up, pompous actress, and she played it to a T so well. And then when it required her to flip and change, she was perfect for this role. That felt like, to me, she was really the one who wasn't afraid to be around all these other great female leads and wasn't intimidated, and she really gave it her all, and that's what I really liked about the Anne Hathaway character. So they devise a plan. They have Rihanna as the hacker, Mindy Kaling as the jeweler. They go and get Miss Sarah Paulson. She's the fence, and she's really funny. They get Awkwafina, who I also think is one of the funniest people in the world in this movie and is really good. She's the pickpocket or thief. She's playing 3-card Monty and kind of shows them how they're going to do the thief thing. And they bring them all back doing their whole kind of get-together and stuff. What I really feel like they miss opportunities are, when they do the whole montage and they bring them back, I feel like Ocean's 11 had this real great humor and putting them all together, them all doubting it. And in this one, it really doesn't have that flow to it. It just kind of skims over what they're going to do. They all agree and they just kick right into it. And I didn't really like that. I like the setup and the building of it and showing you all the different things. And I feel like there's such a missed opportunity between the montage and the heist where it just really slows down the story. They even do a flashback to show you how she got in prison. And just like Ocean's 11, the whole thing Debbie's trying to do is it's all out for revenge. So you come to find out that some ex-boyfriend of hers, who's an art guy, ended up conning her because they both played it straight up, and she ended up in jail because she signed off on it, and he completely put it all on her. He completely played her and put it all on her. So just like the other one, you got your number 2 getting mad at your number 1 because they're mad about the whole deal that happened. It really mimics a lot of the storylines and plots, but I felt like they could have changed things for their own thing, and they really didn't take advantage of that. He kind of stuck to his book and really didn't put a lot of extra flavor or just anything in there that really would make it so different for Oceans 8 and 11. Basically, right now, up to this point, you're just telling me all you've done is flipped out the women for the men and given them less and made it more about high fashion, and then that's just kind of weird. Like, you should have a little more to it. I love the women and I love the whole concept, but it should have been, their flair should be more on it, and I don't feel like they got to put their flair or their characteristics on this whole movie. It has a couple little scenes with Rihanna and her sister. Once they figure out to get the necklace and they're able to get the necklace out of Cartier and they're having this whole thing because they're doing a 3D scanner, they find out there's another trick with the whole magnet that has to do a thing. And instead of making that a fun little thing, just kind of like in Ocean's 11 when they accidentally screw up something and these guys have to go on another heist and steal something and everything goes bad, they didn't really have any fun with that. They just kind of had Rihanna's sister figure it all out, show up, pick her up, and leave, and they just go about their day. So I kind of feel like there's a lot of missed opportunities that they really didn't get to. But we get to the big heist, and the heist is great. I mean, the heist is awesome. That's the whole greatness about these ocean movies. This is the way they kind of set up the heist, and things are going. So, they start showing you the plan and things are going. They get to the night of, and everyone's in their positions, and it's a great, great scene. I mean, I love the way it's all set up, how everything plays out, how they're having to monitor everything, and the way things work. And just like all Ocean's movies, if you've seen them to date, there's always something more to it. So they get through this heist. Everything works out successfully. They rob the place. They figure out a way to get the jewel. They do this whole scam thing. They break it down, just beautifully set up and planned. Even with all the commotion, they still made sure that this thing worked. So after the heist, you're like, oh, okay. Well, no, that's not the end of the movie. They put like another 25 to 30 minutes after the heist. It's like they really didn't know what to fill in the space with or how to get to this point. Now, I do like a lot of the elements that happen afterwards, but there are a lot of things in there that happen that are just unnecessary. For me, this movie was at least 15 to 20 minutes too long. You could have easily cut this movie down and made it a clean, great heist movie with a perfect ending and left off. I mean, just like Oceans, you leave off not knowing what's going on, and they don't do that in this one. So afterwards, all commotion breaks loose because Cartier gets back their necklace, and they come to find out that these women have made a 3D printing of it, and their necklace they have is completely fake. So they call in the insurance guy, and the insurance guy is James Corbin, who's absolutely hilarious in his role. And now he's investigating this robbery and trying to find all this stuff, and they does like a little montage, and that's great. And he knows the whole Ocean family and the whole deal, and they end up in a way, obviously, to close it all up. This is full spoilers. Miss Debbie Ocean figures out a way to take a piece of the jewel that they broke down and broke off, a big piece, and slip it into her ex-boyfriend's jacket when he wasn't paying attention, and she frames him for the whole job because he was actually the date of Miss Daphne, Anne Hathaway's character, and was around her the whole time when the necklace was taken. So she perfectly sets it all up and makes it so she doesn't get involved in it. The insurance goes after them, and the ladies get away with it scot-free. And then they show this great scene where they actually are hiring older women to be that were old thespians and actresses, and they use them to sell off the different pieces of jewelry that have been broken off to the different places to make more money. Here's the kicker when he gets to it. So they get back, they've made a bunch of money, and they get there, and they're all in a circle, and they're having their victory speech. And right before that, you see the Anne Hathaway Daphne character getting interviewed by the insurer, and he's like talking about all these different things. She's acting like she doesn't know anything. So they're sitting all around and at this meeting, and they're having a good old time, and bam, out of nowhere walks in Daphne, the Anne Hathaway character, because come to find out, she was starting to figure out things later, and obviously just like in Oceans, the Miss Debbie and Cate Blanchett character figures out that they need to clue her in, so now she's a part of the team. So now they get their 8th member, so it makes it a full 8, and they, they're all excited and everything, and they ask the actors, why are you a part of it? They ask Anne Hathaway, Daphne's character, why are you part of the show? I don't have a lot of girlfriends. I thought that was a really cute moment. It shows the overall thing. I thought it was great. But then once, they're all happy, everything is moved off, and they're telling their story and everything's great, they're like, but how are we going to do this, guys? You told us we were going to get $150 million, and we only got $84 million for the whole, for all the different pieces. And she goes, Debbie goes, that's a good question. She goes, well, we took the opportunity, and she cracks open the refrigerator, and bam, lo and behold, inside is all the rest of the jewelry that was spread across the Met. So they took that diversion when they shut down the whole Met and did the whole heist. They took that opportunity, just like Ocean style. They call in Yin, who is the magnificent Yin from Oceans 11 through 13, who's the little Asian guy that can get into everything and flips and does all the stuff. They call him in to do basically the same thing, to sneak through lasers and to take all the different jewelry, and then to put fake jewelry back in its place. And they basically tell them, at the end, ladies, we're going to cut $38 million each one of us. So they're all, or $33 million. So they're all pumped and excited. And then this great little to go. And you're thinking, okay, but instead of stopping it there, they wanted to make sure that they showed each one of those characters and what they do with their newfound winnings. Which is cool, but I feel like it still just doesn't end the movie. And then once they get through each one of the characters in their little scene, they finally get back to Miss Debbie. And Miss Debbie goes back, and she's in a tuxedo, and she got kind of that Danny Ocean look to her. She rolls up, and it's real smooth what she does. She pulls out the martini and the shaking glass. She's got a thing of olives. She sits there, and she just she sits there, she pours herself a martini, and she raises a glass of Danny and she says, "You would have loved it." For me, that was the perfect ending. For me, that should have ended. That should have been the end once she told him all the money that all the ladies got, and they should have never showed anybody else, because you don't need to. You can branch on and even expand this some more. Is once all the ladies were happy, you just show Debbie walking back up to the funeral after a completed job, just a la like Ocean's 11, where everyone went their own way and you only see what happened to Danny, and just her tipping. And that would have been a perfect ending for me. I didn't need to see all the rest of the extra stuff. I just felt like that was a little unnecessary and just doing much because everybody needs a happy-go-lucky ending. I don't know. I just feel like it really missed on that. Whew. All right, folks. Well, there is my recap review of Ocean's 8. My overall score for this movie, sadly, is going to be a 6 out of 10. I feel like it has so much great potential. The actresses, they give it their all. I feel like I said, Anne Hathaway is amazing. Awkwafina is great. I feel like Rihanna is not used enough. She doesn't get enough usage. Mindy Kaling's kind of pushed to the back, and she's hilarious, and she doesn't get a lot of run. When you have so many powerful women actresses on this one movie, just like when you have male actors, it's hard for the cream to rise and for everybody to get their scenes, and I feel like there's just a lot of missed opportunities in this movie. All right. Well, thanks for joining me. Please like, subscribe, comment down below, and check out all my other different reviews. If you're checking out television, I got that every week. And every week we do a weekly 4-Galley PRP where we talk about all things movies, trailers, previews of the movies coming out, and box office predictions. All right, folks, until next time, good night, Ted.